What is the golden rule when writing a novel? How can you apply it to your novel right now and become the most successful writer you can be? We're going to be answering that question and more, and we're starting right now. What is the golden rule when writing your novel? What is the one thing that you can apply to your novel right now and make it the greatest novel possible and have people reading it hundreds of years from now? It all comes down to one word, and that word is emotion. You want someone reading your novel to feel. It doesn't matter if you're writing a comedy, romance, horror, drama. You want someone reading your novel to feel. You want them to feel something that's going to make them turn the page. When you read a newspaper, what happens? You're given facts and figures and information. Yeah, it's nice. But the problem is you don't feel anything. It's just information on a page. You put the newspaper down and you walk away. The next day you throw it out because you have no emotional connection to it. But can you throw away your favorite novel? Chances are you could never do that. Why is it? It's because that novel made you feel. Maybe it made you laugh. Maybe it made you cry. Maybe it made you think. But when you hold your favorite novel, chances are you hold it close to your heart because you connected with it. You were on the journey with the protagonist. They were on their journey, but you were pulled inside their mind. You felt as though you were on that journey as well. Even with something like Watership Down, it's about rabbits, but yet so many people love that novel. Millions of people around the world say that Watership Down is one of their favorite novels. But how can this be? It's about rabbits. But it's not just about rabbits. It's about struggle. It is about trying to find happiness and overcoming barriers, overcoming obstacles. The rabbits had an intent. That intent was to be happy. And their obstacle was everything. Other mean rabbits, weather, birds, everything you can think of was always after the rabbits. All they wanted was happiness. But when you read Watership Down, you connect. You feel as though you're on that journey. You feel what they feel. They are not perfect. They are flawed, and those flaws can hurt them. We worry for them. We feel emotion. And by the time you're finished reading the book, you have felt so much emotion that you now connect with it. You're now at one with it. So decades later, you still feel connected. When you, as a writer, are starting a novel, you don't want to just write information on a page that the reader doesn't feel. One of the important things is, as a writer, you have to feel. And a lot of amateur writers are afraid of that. They don't want to feel because it's not easy to feel fear or sadness within yourself when writing. So a lot of writers will avoid writing about emotion. Their stories will be very straightforward, a lot of information. But the problem is that the reader cannot connect with information. You can write a story about a submarine and give all the facts and figures about how a submarine works. The problem is that people reading cannot connect emotionally with information on how a submarine works. What we can connect with are the people in the submarine and who they are and their struggles and their objectives. So this way, you connect with the people in the submarine, but not the story, but not the actual submarine itself. A lot of amateur writers will focus a lot of information on how things work. The problem is that we just cannot connect emotionally with how things work. We connect with people. We feel emotion. A great example is Gone with the Wind. It takes place during the Civil War, but at no point are we given any information about the war itself or the details of the battlefield or how battles are fought. What we connect with are the people living in the South dealing with the Civil War and how they have to struggle to overcome their objectives and their obstacles. Their goal is to live a happy life. And Scarlett O'Hara's goal was to win the love of Ashley. We, as the reader, are pulled into the story. We become at one with Scarlet. We may not agree with her, we may not like her, but we see through her eyes. We feel what she feels. You cannot help but feel when reading that book. And by feeling, you connect. And this has happened since 1930s when the book was released. People have been reading it since and connecting with it. Millions of people around the world have connected, not because of the small details of the Civil War, but of the people having to deal with the war. Even a writer like Ray Bradbury, who writes science fiction, he wrote Fahrenheit 451, in which it talks about books burning in the future. But he doesn't just create this cold, meaningless future. He puts people into that story. He puts people into that cold future. And we connect with those people and how they have to overcome their obstacles in living in a world where books are not allowed. Ray Bradbury could have just told us that the future is a world where books do not exist. But he didn't want to just tell us, because that would have been like a newspaper. By creating characters that we care about and dealing with that problem, we now connect with the novel itself. As a writer, you don't want to just tell people information. You want to answer the person's biggest question that they have in their mind, and that is why. Why do people do what they do? You can even write a novel from the bad guy's point of view. You can write a novel from a serial killer's point of view. And why do they do what they do? Because when we think of serial killers, the biggest question that we ask ourselves is why? Why would someone do such a thing? By writing a novel from a serial killer's point of view, you give insight into their mind. Now, 99% of everybody reading will disagree with the character's actions. They may not like the character, but at least it gives them insight into why they do something so horrific. And this is what pulls us into wanting to read a novel. We're seeking answers. We want to find the answer to the meaning of life. We want answers into why people do what they do. And when reading a novel, you see through the character's eyes. You feel what they feel. And by doing so, you're given insight in which you can answer the question why. And in the process, it makes you feel. You feel something. You can feel anger. You can feel sadness. Look at Terms of Endearment. There was a simple story about a daughter wanting to win her mother's unconditional love, but the mother had stipulations on love. And there are many bigger problems in the world, but this was just one of them between a mother and a daughter. But when you read Terms of Endearment, you cannot help but feel, and that feeling is what stays with you. And so many years down the road, when you look at the book Terms of Endearment, you cannot help but feel those emotions again. Stephen King has this way of making us feel fear. When we read a Stephen King novel, it's not about the monster. It's about the people dealing with the monster. And we care about them, because Stephen King doesn't just write about a rabid dog like he did with Cujo. He writes about the people dealing with the rabid dog. The mother and son were trapped in a car with the rabid dog outside. And she knew no one was coming to rescue her. How was she going to get out of this problem? By Stephen King creating the first part of the novel, letting us have insight into her mind, her life, her thoughts, her emotions, we now connect with her. We feel as though we're at one with her. So when she is trapped in the car, we are trapped in the car. We feel as though the rabid dog is after us. We feel emotion. Could Stephen King have just focused on the dog right from the start? Yes, most amateur writers would have. But Stephen King focused on the characters dealing with the dog, which makes us feel as though we connect emotionally with the character, making us want to turn the page to find out how this problem is going to be fixed. When writing a novel, you want to ask yourself, what do I want the reader to feel? What emotions do I want them to take away? Because the more someone reading your novel feels the more they're going to want to finish reading your book. If they stop feeling, chances are they're going to stop reading. Always remember, make someone feel, and that's going to motivate them to turn the page. It's going to motivate them to finish your story. It will then motivate them to suggest your book to other people. And decades down the road, when they see your book again, they're going to hold it close to their hearts because you made them feel. You don't want to write a book that's like a newspaper that just gives information. You're writing a book to make people feel emotion. It doesn't matter what that emotion is, good or bad. At least you made someone feel. And making them feel is what makes them finish reading your novel. If you enjoyed watching this video, be sure to check out my blog. I'm going to leave a link from my website down below in the description. And you can visit my website right away and read all the blogs I have to offer you on how you can become the greatest writer you can be. Because that is what I want. I want to help you become a successful writer. If you enjoyed watching this video, I know you're going to enjoy watching my other video on what you, a writer, can learn from bad movie sequels and how it can hurt your novel and what you can learn to make your novel better by watching and looking out for these mistakes made in movies. In fact, I'm going to leave a link for that video right here and you can watch it right now.